time to do our work.
Okay.
Oh,
Can she hear me?
Yeah, well, yes, she can hear you. Okay. So let us get started. First off, anything y'all want to bring up, talk about, or anything like that?
it's hot. I was like,
It's hot.
Can we talk about the Capitol?
Inauguration.
It's hot.
Can we talk
Yeah, I
about the
can't take
Capitol?
this off because I don't have my.
Roll up the sleeves.
Nobody cares about sleeves. Can we please talk about the Capitol? That's just seems interesting.
Let's do that after we'll put that on the list. That was a funny video. I will agree. But, okay. Okay, so real quick, by the way, do you spell it O-L or A-L when talking about the building? No, you spell
No,
it
I was gonna say that.
O-L. When you talk about the building, the Capitol building, it is an O-L at the end. When you talk about the city,
It's a capital.
A-L.
What?
Yeah, two different spellings.
What are we
Two.
talking about?
The spelling of capital.
Oh,
The Capitol building is spelled with an O-L. The capital city is spelled with an A-L. No, but like Washington DC is the capital. That is the capital with an A-L. Congress is the Capitol with an O-L.
Wait, I spell it on the same.
Okay. No, you don't spell it. That would be incorrect. Okay. So let's kind of talk about the where we left off. We left off with the Sugar Act, that sweet act. Okay. And the colonists, did they like the Sugar Act?
No.
But it lowered taxes. What? But it lowered the taxes on the molasses. Why didn't they like it? I can see your.
Because they didn't like the British.
Oh, no, they.
I thought it was because they didn't like the British.
They couldn't smell that?
Huh? What did they not like the British doing?
Taking their
Actually, they
freedom.
wanted one of their own people to tax.
Yes. So the colonists did not agree that Parliament had the right to tax them. Why?
Because they did not
They
vote.
weren't
him.
represented.
Because what?
They did not vote. him.
No, exactly.
They did not have representatives in Parliament. They did not vote for the people in Parliament.
Oh.
Thus, the saying,
No
No
taxation without representation.
perfect, no taxation without representation. All right. So after the Sugar Act, okay, we have the Stamp Act. And we tend to think of stamps like the ones that you lit and you put on envelopes, right? Okay. This is a stamp more like a stamp. Ooh, I woke up Jack when I did that. Shut up. Okay. Yeah, it's a stamp that you just smack down. Thanks. Okay. So this Stamp Act essentially said we are going to tax every printed paper good.
Even playing cards.
Okay. Yeah, even playing card. Anything that's printed on paper, we are taxing. Why? To earn money, to pay back the debt for the French and Indian War. Okay. Now, how do you think newspapers felt about this? Christian, huh? How do you think newspapers felt about the Stamp Act?
Probably. Happy.
Hmm?
Tax.
Yeah.
They were probably angry at the situation because then people wouldn't want to buy the newspaper.
Why?
Because then they'll be taxed for it at the end.
So you're telling me that the newspapers aren't going to be happy because the tax is going to be collected from the newspapers?
Wait, the newspaper people. are
The
gonna be
newspaper?
happy because the people are giving the money.
Wait,
Give it-
but the newspapers are being taxed, right?
Yeah, so that means it's gonna be more
Yeah.
money for them
Okay.
to buy it.
No, it's not. It's not more money for the newspapers. It's more money for the
For the colonists, but
for the Parliament.
yeah.
Okay, but I'm saying, are you telling me that people don't like being taxed?
Yes.
What? You don't like giving money to the government? Just,
No.
here you go.
Wait, I thought you get money
They don't
back when
even
you pay
use
your
it.
We don't mind giving money to our own. but
Okay.
We don't like giving money to others.
Wait,
Right.
what?
So the stamp tax, I'll address that real quick. Okay. Give me 5 minutes and I'll address that. Okay. Right. So the Stamp Act was essentially a tax on newspapers. Right. I mean, it was a tax on other things too, but the newspapers felt like it was the tax on them. So if you're the editor of a newspaper and you have to pay this new tax now, what type of stories in your newspaper are you going to write about the Stamp Act?
Great Britain strikes
The
again.
newspapers, how they're telling you to write this paper.
Wait, are you gonna praise the Stamp Act as a great idea?
No.
No.
Great, great.
Okay. And so people end up reading the newspapers, right?
Yep.
And can newspapers affect public opinion?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. The only reason any of us may care about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West breaking up is because a newspaper told us it was happening. But if the newspaper, if the newspaper didn't tell us that was happening, would any of us care? No. Right? So newspapers can affect public opinion on that. Okay. So these newspapers, in response to the Stamp Act, are gonna help increase animosity toward the Stamp Act, negative feelings toward the Stamp Act, and get people upset about it. Okay. Now, tangent, address your question. You said, don't people get money back when, okay. So they only get money, like, okay, so every pay period, when you get a paycheck, you have money taken out automatically to go for your federal income taxes. So you're kind of like, every 2 weeks or however often you get paid, a portion of that's being set aside to cover your taxes. Okay. At the end of the year, so we just finished 2020. Okay. Doesn't feel like it, but we did. Yeah. Come April, we'll have to file our taxes. Okay. So there's going to be an accounting. And let's say, based on all the income I've earned, that I owe, I'm just going to pull out some numbers, that I only owe $3,000 in taxes. Okay. Okay. That I only owe $3,000 in taxes. But over the year, I paid $3,500 toward taxes. So what's the difference between the two? They'll give me $500, but I shouldn't look at it as, ooh, I'm getting $500 in free money.
It's your money.
It was my money that I gave to the government without really needing to. So I didn't, yeah, they're just giving money, like, so you don't get additional money. It's just, that's why it's called a refund. Like when you buy something from a store and then you take it back, they give you a refund. All right, that's all it is. Okay. So back here, new taxes on the colonies. We talked about the Stamp Act, talked about how they helped create anger towards the Stamp Act. And some of the people that kind of stepped out in that is Patrick Henry. Now he is famous for a saying that says, give me, no, close, starts with an L.
Give me life.
Land.
Give liberty.
Liberty or
Or death.
give me death. Give me liberty or give me death. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And there is obvious, like let's go ahead and mention the elephant in the room. They're talking about Patrick Henry here in Virginia. Give me liberty or give me death. And what does Virginia have?
Yeah.
Slaves.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not really talking about everybody, give me liberty or give me death. And in fact, later on, we'll talk about people that tried to abolish slavery after the country was formed, like John Brown. Have y'all heard of him?
Yeah.
He was an abolitionist. He, uh, he was more of a violent abolitionist, but he was fighting for to abolish slavery. And he felt that the only way to abolish slavery is through violence, which ended up.
Civil War.
Well, I mean, yeah, we fought the Civil War to abolish. So yeah, it ended up being that way. But he kind of felt that give me liberty, give me death as well. He was a white guy trying to abolish slavery. So he came down to Harper's Ferry, Virginia, to try to lead a slave rebellion. Harper's Ferry was an arsenal. Like they had a bunch of weapons.
Oh, yeah.
So he was attacking Harper's Ferry to get a bunch of weapons to hand out to all the enslaved people, but people found out about his plan and he was killed. And he was called a traitor by the South, but he became a martyr for the North. In fact, Union soldiers in the Civil War have y'all heard of the Battle Hymn of the Republic?
No.
How does it go? Dun, 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 dun. The Army of the Lord? No? Anybody recognize that tune?
Oh,
No.
Yeah, that's what it
Da 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 da.
Oh.
All right, that's the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and we sometimes sing that song in church, with changed lyrics, talking about the army of the Lord. But one of the original lyrics was sung by Union soldiers, and it was about John Brown. John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. Okay. All right, but so there's that kind of paradox here when Patrick Henry says, "Give me liberty or give me death," in a colony that has a lot of slaves, right? But regardless, let's kind of focus here. We'll get to all that later. So Patrick Henry convinces the Virginia House of Burgesses, and who elects the Virginia House of Burgesses? The colonists of Virginia. It's not a trick question, all right? Like, do the colonists living in Georgia elect the Virginia House of Burgesses? No. They elect their own legislature, colonial legislature, okay? And the Virginia House of Burgesses says, only we can levy taxes on our citizens. Why?
Wait, what did they say?
They said only we, the Virginia House of Burgesses, can levy taxes on our citizens.
He's saying why did
Yeah, why only them?
because
They're what?
they're representatives?
Who voted them in?
Virginia.
Colonists.
The people, they're citizens. So, well, like the Virginia is kind of making this point. Look, we're not anti-tax, right? A lot of times we tend to simplify the American Revolution and say that it was about taxes. It wasn't. It was about representation. Okay, because the Virginia House of Delegates or Virginia House of Burgesses, they would tax their own citizens. In fact, if Great Britain had just given the colonists seats in Parliament, we may not have had an American Revolution.
It's in part of Britain.
Or like be more like Canada. Canada gained its independence from Britain in like the early 1900s. So we could have been like them, right? But Britain was stubborn. They didn't want to give us seats in Parliament. And that's kind of what pushes the issue. Okay.
But they try to tax us
With-
every time.
Without giving us seats in Parliament, right? If they had given us seats in Parliament and then our representatives that we voted for said that there's going to be a tax on the colonists, or they had a say in that, we would have accepted the taxes. We weren't anti-tax. It was just anti not being represented on it. Okay. So Samuel Adams is another guy that gets kind of riled up by this, and he's in no connection to the beer. I get that question a lot about Sam Adams. Okay, the beer company was named after, like, long after he was dead, just named after him. Okay, but he is the cousin to who?
No, Quincy.
John Adams. No, not Quincy. John Quincy Adams is the son of John Adams. So he's the second cousin.
Wait.
Second cousin?
That's the same.
So Sam Adams and John Adams are cousins. Okay. So Sam Adams, he begins the Sons of Liberty in Boston, and they start to protest in the streets of Boston about these taxes.
That one, the Boston Massacre.
Not, we're getting closer to that. Yeah. And they burn something called effigies of tax collectors. What's an effigy? It starts with an E.
Delivery?
Huh?
You deliver taxes?
No, well, that's the tax collector. But what's an effigy?
It's not the tax.
I have the definition.
Okay, what is it?
A mocking figure representing an unpopular individual.
Yeah, imagine a scarecrow like they've sewn up clothing and they've stuffed it with hay or straw, and they'll even put a little head on it filled with hay or straw.
Decapitated.
No, they wouldn't decapitate it. They would hang it by a noose, okay, and then light it on fire,
Oh.
okay, and that was a burning of an effigy, okay. The effigy, the straw man, okay, represented the tax collector, and burning it represented their displeasure with the taxes. They also did this thing called tar and feather.
Yes.
And tar is this really sticky, hot black substance that they would use to, like, waterproof roofs. Because, they would have like straw roofs, right? And so they put tar on the roof because that way water doesn't go through the roof. Right. Huh? Well, mortar is for the walls. But you're not going to put mortar on top of straw. Okay, you put this pitch, this tar. Okay, and so it's this really sticky, hot, black stuff. And what they would do, not just to effigies, but sometimes to real people, is they would put the tar on the skin. Okay, and then throw feathers on, and the feathers stick. They stick to this black thing, and it would be extremely painful to remove because it's hot when so it's going to burn you when they put it on, and then they peel it off. You kind of you're taking off some skin.
The preventing waxing after.
Okay, so it was a very brutal thing that they would do. Okay, so yeah, kind of, if we were to look at that back then, like, objectively, we'd be like, these guys are rioting. It's kind of a riot, right? Tar and feather, burning effigies. So October 1765, the Stamp Act Congress was formed. Delegates from how many of the colonies? How many of the 13 colonies?
2.
Nope. Nope.
5.
6.
10. 9.
9. See, Ashley and Edie had 9 up on their screen. No, not 9 as in no in German. 9. Okay. So the Stamp Act Congress was formed by delegates from 9 of the 13 colonies. Okay. And where did they meet? What town did they meet in? No. Nope.
Pennsylvania.
Nope. What? New York. Okay, if you look up on the screen, you notice that there are 2 blanks.
Oh.
So just think of all the cities that you know that have 2 names or 2 words in a name. New York. Okay. So they met in New York. And they essentially wrote a statement that said, who had the authority to pass taxes?
Their own people.
Close.
The representatives?
Yeah, their own colonial assemblies, right? The people that they've elected. So if I haven't elected you, if I haven't voted in your election, you have no authority. Okay. So what happened in 1766? Just in the next couple months.
Opposition.
Huh?
Opposition.
No. What did Parliament do to the Stamp Act?
They got rid of it.
They got rid of it. Yay! Right? But
They stationed soldiers.
no, they had already been doing that. But Parliament gets rid of the Stamp Act, but they issue a statement that says, "Oh, we're getting rid of this, yes, but we still believe we have the authority to tax you." So it's kind of a yay, we won, but also yeah, kind of a bitter taste. Okay, and so last slide are Townshend Acts. Okay, so the Stamp Act was an internal tax, meaning it had to be collected after the goods were already in the colonies. Okay, and that was really difficult. So is a law that's difficult to enforce really a good law? No. It's illegal for me to do this and drive, but you still see people do it all the time, right? And one of the reasons they do it is because it's really, but not just that, but even if a cop is next to me, what can I do with the phone? Put it in my lap. And if I'm sitting in my car and the phone is on my lap, can the cop looking through my driver's side window see the phone and see my hand on the phone texting?
No.
Okay, I'm looking at navigation. I'm not texting. So is that easy to enforce? No, which is why we still see so many people do it. Okay, and I kind of want to honk at them. Okay, so they decided, Parliament was like, okay, these internal taxes that are hard to enforce, we're not going to do. Instead, we're going to put a tax on things coming into the colonies. What do we call things coming in? Imports. Okay. So Parliament passed the Townshend Acts. And so now imports such as tea. Getting there. Tea, glass, and paper are going to be taxed as they come into the colonies. Okay. And what do we call those taxes on things on imports? What do we call the taxes? Starts with a T. Tariffs. Okay. If we make a good in this country and we sell it to another country, it's leaving the country. We call that a export. It's exiting our country to go somewhere else. If we're bringing it in, it's an import. Okay. And we don't tax our exports because that would be kind of, yeah. No, because, well, because we're willing to pay for it. Yeah, but if we're taxing our exports, all we're doing is raising the price of a good that we're trying to get other people to buy. That doesn't.
Are they doing the same thing?
No, but we're doing it to ourselves with imports. Because if we put a tariff, it's like if the US puts a tariff on something, we're putting it on. And then you're paying for it. Okay. So, but these tariffs, what did that do to the price of the goods? It increased. And now Great Britain has made a boo-boo because they've increased the price of tea for people who consider themselves British. Uh-oh. How many of y'all have seen on Apple TV Ted Lasso? No? Okay. It's a pretty funny deal, but it's about an American football coach who goes over to England to coach a soccer team. Okay. And he gets served a cup of tea after he asks for a coffee with with a bunch of like a frappuccino type standard Starbucks coffee. He gets served a cup of tea and he goes, I used to think that tea was just some nasty brown water. And I still think that. Okay. All right. So do we like paying more for goods?
No.
No. So we started protesting and boycotting some more. And who got pinched when we start doing that? The merchants, the people selling these goods start getting pinched. So did everybody in the colonies like the boycotts? No. In fact, when it comes to the Revolutionary War, less than a third of the colonial population fights the Revolutionary War. About a third of the population is loyal to Great Britain, and about the remaining third of the population is, I don't care. I have no strong feelings. All right. So, all right, guys. So, what I have for y'all is this exit ticket. It has been assigned now. Yes.
In order to get out of the classroom, you have to do it.
Yes. It is due tonight, huh? Yes, it's these questions, but they're in a Google form that I just assigned.
So if we do this, we don't have to do it.
Huh? No, you still have to do Cornell notes, but you need to do this. Harmony. Let's go ahead and get the exit ticket going. I got a chat. Is it open note? Yes, it is open note.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the quiz, can we use that Cornell?
Yes.
Oh, we should do it now?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes. It's an exit ticket. Y'all have enough time. Huh? Yeah, it's only 10 questions. Yes. Huh? Yes, Cornell notes still need to be done. Yes. Both exit ticket and Cornell notes. Both. Harmony. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.